aren't like things that are easily accessible. These aren't things that are, you know, things to be proud of or whatever. But to me, like, I think why I connect with Refn so much and why I find his work to have like an importance is that, one, he's always pushing the envelope. He's always, you know, making it more open, the field a little bit more open, and he's lucky that he's able to do that because not everybody can.
Yeah.
And then another reason is, like, the first time I really knew I wanted to be a filmmaker or somebody involved in the film industry, whatever it may be, was when I watched Drive. Because that, of course, that movie is like, it's an instant classic, you know. It's just gonna live forever. But when I saw that movie, it was literally the first time I thought to myself that making a movie like this one, or any movie, making any movie, is possible. Because before then, I was just like, okay, we're getting Transformers, we're getting, you know, these, like, you know, Terminator, whatever, like these crazy big movies. And not that there weren't other, you know, amazing indie dramas coming out at the time, but it was the first film that I actually connected with. And you know, and it made me believe that I could do it, that I could be a filmmaker. And so that's why I have such a strong connection to his work, and that just carried on into his future work. So I think when Drive came out, and Only God Forgives, and then eventually, you know, The Neon Demon, each one, I feel like he gets a little crazier, each one, you know, and he's not trying to do the same thing each time, which I think is super important. As a creator, like, you obviously don't want to just be treading over the same water.
Well, he seems very, like, set in his own ways, where he's literally making the movie that he wants.
Yeah.
He's not making it for the people.
Right.
He's just doing what he wants, and he's like, well, fuck it. If they're on board, they're on board. But I'm going to do what the fuck I believe in.
Right.
Or whatever. And for him to have the kind of... And I wouldn't say he's like a hugely successful, but the amount of exposure and the awards and everything that he's gotten is very, very... It's like... It's very... how do you say... I don't know. Just... It's insane that he is able to stay around. You know what I mean?
He's very fortunate.
Yeah.
He's gotten very lucky. But it just goes to show, like, if you work hard and you do what you want to do,
you stay on track, and just,
people are going to want to work with you, you know, and that's how Ryan wanted to work with him. He basically said, I want this guy to direct Drive.
Yep.
And it happened, because Ryan is like, you know, he's up there, you know, he's A-list.
Let's talk about Drive a little bit.
Yeah, Drive.
Cool. So, when in LA scouting for his next picture, he sits down with Gosling, who is very interested in working with Refn for an adaptation of the novel Drive, which was under Universal Pictures at the time. At first, Refn wasn't interested until a certain car ride where REO Speedwagon played in the background. And then Refn kind of has this epiphany, you know, while driving with Gosling, and kind of mentally breaks down. And in that, he gets the vision for Drive, and that's why I've read the book. It's very short, and stylistically, it's not really anything like the movie. So you can tell where he kind of his vision comes into play with the jacket and the you know where he moonlights as a wheelman and drives around to this specific kind of tunage and stuff. So honestly I think that had anybody else done Drive, it would just been a bargain bin type of deal where we would have got some transporter knockoff, you know. And Drive is definitely one of my most anticipated films of my entire life. I followed it coming, you know, as it was being made, as it was coming out. I was hoping it was going to be this beautiful piece of cinema, right? And then going to see it, opening night, it was I don't know, it like really changed my life, just the way that you said it changed yours, where it was hugely relatable, everything I wanted to see, aesthetically, the lighting, the music. Cliff Martinez, which that was like their debut, like working together, which would be, move on down his filmography, but the juggernaut cast for such like a small, I think this was his biggest budget to that date, but it was still a smaller budget where you're like, how the fuck did he get all these people to be in this? Christina Hendricks.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I
think it was like 4 million or something like that. Something small.
10.
10?
I think it was 10.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
a little bit more. But,
because they do a lot of like crazy accidents, and there's a lot of, the action is very well, spread out, and the violence and stuff, which is very visceral, but you don't get a lot of it, and that's what a lot of people are don't like it, because they think that it moves too slow,
right?
And that's where it comes into play, where people who aren't big on art house are going to talk shit on this, but it's a lot better than I don't know if I could name a better movie that came out that year.
I don't think I could either, honestly, because I was so obsessed with that movie, and I had just bumped into it. So it's funny because I didn't know. I mean, like I said, I didn't know anything about Refn. I didn't know who he was. I wasn't even big on Ryan. I just like, here's this movie. It's out in theaters. Let me check it out. Because I liked going to the movies. I wasn't big on movies at the time.
Okay.
But, I like to check out these kind of like random movies. I didn't like always going to see like these giant, tentpole films that were coming out all the time. And they still do, but it's just like jumping into like these different movies, but I never really thought of these as like being special. I just liked that they were, different. They were trying to tell a story that wasn't, just rehashed or already have been told in some kind of way, or like a sequel or whatever. So when I saw Drive, I watched it with my brother, one of my older brothers. And I mean, I can speak for him too. He had definitely never seen anything like that before. And I was kind of thrown off because I had seen the trailer before going to see it, and the trailer like butchers the whole thing. It's like not at all the vibe of the movie. But what I got was even more powerful because I wasn't even expecting that. And I can't say that from day one, like as soon as I saw it, I was obsessed. It took some time for me to kind of like really comprehend what I had just watched, because the first, 40 to 45 minutes of that movie, that's really just like a romance drama.
Yeah.
And then it kicks into high gear and becomes this kind of like this action, somewhat action drama, and it follows it, all the way to the end, and it's just like I've never seen anything like that before at the time. And now we have all these imitators of Drive, and they're all fun in their own way, but it's you can tell where they come from and how big of an influence he's had on the entire industry just with that one movie alone.
Yeah, I think the whole that resurrected this kind of 80s nostalgia that we are in now, with the neon font and
everything's neon, right?
Yeah, and the soundtrack and the use of that hot pink is everywhere, in artwork, in all over, and it's so strange to think that we almost didn't get this, because Refn, at first was like, no, I don't see it, I don't get it, and so we were just super fortunate for all of these things to align to get this perfect, this very perfect movie. You know what I mean? It moves. I know Ryan actually did have a lot more dialogue in the script that he refused to say for whatever reason,
right?
Which is very strange.
It's so funny. I mean, when you watch, And I'm one to buy a lot of physical
Yes, yeah,
movies. Like, I'm a big collector for sure.
definitely.
I try to limit that now because it just takes up so much space.
It does.
But watching, the best thing about having a physical copy of anything is that usually it'll have supplements, special features or whatever they call it. And I like to watch everything that I can for any of the Refn movies if there is something to watch, and for the Drive Blu-ray is kind of bare bones a little bit. There's only a couple featurettes on it.
Yeah.
But there's been other editions of that movie, that I've...
Did you ever get the Best Buy exclusive pop art one?
I did get that one.
The steelbook? Yeah.
It's basically the same thing, but just it has the
cooler art.
Yeah.
Because I was so upset at that standard Blu-ray art.
It's just the poster.
So trash.
Yeah, it's bad.
That poster is bad.
Yeah.
Like with the scorpion on the front.
It's not even on the front.
And it's like, what?
They're just they butchered that for sure, yeah. But, I was still gonna buy it,
Yeah,
that movie's
of
so
course,
good.
of course.
And I probably have too many editions of Drive on Blu-ray, but it's just it's crazy, seeing everything they've done together, how well of a relationship. It's like with the way he works with his other actors. Mm-hmm. It's just so everything is aligned, and I think he knows when that's gonna work,
Definitely.
And segueing into Only God Forgives, I'm so glad, because I'm so glad that Ryan ended up in that movie. Originally, it was supposed to be Luke Evans.
Yes.
And I'm so glad it wasn't Luke Evans.
He dropped out a month before they were supposed to start production.
Yeah, which is a really jerk move. Why would you do that? But I'm glad you did it. And then, I've spoken on it a bit already, but that movie is on a different kind of level, beyond how dangerous this world is in Only God Forgives, beyond the violence and the foul mouth, everybody involved. They're all terrible, even Ryan's character. But going back to connecting with these characters and with these worlds,
mm-hmm.
The reason I think I sympathize so much with him and Only God Forgives, and why I think Only God Forgives is something that deserves to be rewatched if you didn't like it in your first watch.
Yeah.
It's just that, it's not about the symbolism, there's symbolism in everything. It's just about these characters. If you don't care about these characters, then sure, you're not gonna like it. I totally understand that. But there's always a reason for what these characters are doing, and not all of them are good reasons. But with Ryan's character specifically, he is the only reason he's done everything that I guess I should say it differently, but the only reason that he is the way that he is because of his mother.
Yeah.
In that film specifically.
So he's kind of a victim.
Yeah. And he does things because he's messed up. He's a messed up guy. He definitely has his issues. But he's trying to do the right thing. Even though he's not doing a very good job. And also, to him, the right thing isn't exactly the best thing to do in this scenario. But you can see where he's coming from.
Definitely.
So I think it's something if you're on the fence about rewatching it, if you're listening, if you're on the fence, if Only God Forgives, and you just loathed it when it came out or whenever you saw it, please rewatch it and just think on it, because it is an experience.
It definitely is. Only God Forgives, of course, because I loved Drive so much. I was, super anticipating this. I'm like, oh, it's going to be set in Bangkok. He's got Gosling attached again. They're going to create that magic.
Yeah.
And I went to go see it right away. And by the end, I was kind of indifferent, because, and I think that that's kind of